A major political shift is unfolding inside the UK, and it could completely change how British politics work in the coming years. For decades, elections in Britain were dominated by traditional white working class and middle class voters, with the Labour and Conservative parties taking turns in power. But now, demographic change, migration patterns, identity politics, and growing dissatisfaction among minority communities are creating a new political power center. And at the heart of this transformation are Pakistani and Bangladeshi origin Muslim vote blocs that are increasingly emerging as decisive kingmakers in British politics. Yes, you heard that right. The trigger for this debate comes from recent political developments in places like Tower Hamlets in East London and Gorton and Denton in Manchester. In Tower Hamlets, Mayor Luftur Rahman and his party secured a massive victory, winning the overwhelming majority of council seats. What makes this significant is not just the scale of the victory, but the demographic reality behind it. Tower Hamlets today has a very large Bangladeshi origin Muslim population. Similarly, in Manchester's Gorton and Denton by-election, Pakistani original Muslim voters played a major role in helping the Green Party outperform Labour Party, showing how established political loyalties are now becoming fluid. To understand why this matters, we need to look at the broader demographic changes in Britain over the last few decades. After the Second World War, the UK encouraged immigration from former colonies to rebuild the economy. South Asian migrants from India, from Pakistan, and later Bangladesh settled in industrial cities and urban cities. Pakistani communities became concentrated in parts of Greater Manchester, and while Bangladeshi origin communities became heavily concentrated in East London, especially Tower Hamlets. Over time, these communities developed strong social, cultural, and religious networks, and eventually strong political network too. For years, the Labour Party was the default political home for most Muslim voters in Britain. Labour's support for welfare policies, anti-racism campaigns, and immigration rights made the preferred choice for the South Asian Muslim communities. But that equation is now changing rapidly. Many Muslim voters, especially young voters, feel increasingly alienated from Labour over foreign policy issues, particularly the Gaza war, Britain's position on Israel, and broader questions surrounding Islamophobia and identity politics. The frustration has opened space for local parties, independent and even smaller national parties to attract Muslim voters in constituencies where the margins are tight. And this is where the term kingmaker becomes politically important. In Britain's first past the post electoral system, a small but concentrated vote bloc can become extremely powerful. If a party loses even 5 to 10% of a loyal voter base in a close constituency, the outcome can flip dramatically. Pakistani and Bangladeshi origin Muslim communities are not evenly spread across Britain. Instead, they are heavily concentrated in urban constituencies. Another reason why this transformation is attracting attention is the rise of identity-driven politics. British politics traditionally revolved around class issues like workers versus elites, taxation, healthcare, wages, and economic policy. But increasingly, elections are now becoming shaped by cultural identity, religion, immigration, and foreign policy. For many Muslim voters, especially after the Gaza conflict, voting patterns are no longer driven purely by economics. They are increasingly influenced by whether a party reflects community sentiment or not, especially on Muslim causes. This creates a serious challenge for mainstream British parties. The Labour Party is under pressure to retain its traditional voter base while also appealing to centrist and nationalist voters. They are feeling trapped because of the competing political realities. If Labour moves too strongly towards pro-Palestinian position, it would risk moderate and some Jewish voters. But if it appears indifferent to Muslim concerns, it would risk losing support in urban constituency with a large South Asian Muslim population. What makes this trend even more significant is Britain's changing demographic future. Younger urban population in many UK cities are becoming increasingly diverse. In some areas of London, white British populations are no longer the majority. However, critics argue that the bloc voting based on religion or ethnicity could deepen social polarization in Britain. Some analysts warn that politics built around identity rather than broader national issues is dangerous, and this is what is happening in the UK. There is also a geopolitical dimension to all of this. British domestic politics increasingly intersect with global Muslim issues. Gaza, Kashmir, Islamophobia in Europe, refugee crisis, wars in the Middle East, all of this. At the same time, not all Pakistani or Bangladeshi origin voters think like this. These communities are internally diverse, divided by class, divided by generation, and most importantly, ideology. Younger British Muslims may prioritize climate change, housing, jobs, or anti-racism, while older voters, may focus more on faith and community representation. Yet, despite these internal differences, political mobilization around shared identity issues are undeniably has become more powerful in recent years. And perhaps that is the biggest takeaway from this story. The rise of Pakistani and Bangladeshi origin Muslim votes is not just about one election. It reflects a much deeper transformation inside Britain. A transformation driven by demographics, immigration, identity, and the changing nature of democracy itself. The old political formulas are weakening, new alliances are emerging, and the battle for Britain's future may increasingly be decided not by traditional politics strongholds, but by highly mobilized community vote banks. The question now is no longer whether these communities have political influence. The real question is how far that influence will grow.